What is up, everyone? Crunchy Frog here, and Season 1 for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 just released about a week or two ago, and with it released a brand new multiplayer map called Meat. Now, Meat is a small 6v6 map seemingly designed to be the next iconic small-scale map along the lines of Nuketown or Shipment or Rust. You know, one of those maps that they constantly bring back and throw in our face and, try to make fun 24/7 playlists out of. Now, it's been a while since Call of Duty tried its hand at introducing a new map into this, same pantheon of maps. So today we'll discuss how Meat matches up against some of those previous Call of Duty small maps, as well as talk about how it fits into the current camo grinding meta. Basically the last few Call of Duties, there's been a huge push where everyone just basically wants to play on those really small maps to grind out all their guns before migrating back to the typical playlist and map rotation once they have the mastery camo, or at least as many mastery camos as they feel fit to grind for. So with that all out of the way, as always, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to leave a like, as it helps others find the channel and helps my channel grow, as we are on our way to 1,000 subscribers here soon. And along that same vein, if you enjoy this content and want to see more like it going forward, make sure you're subscribed to stay up to date with all of the latest Modern Warfare 3 news, as well as general Call of Duty discussions and other gameplays. And as always, if you'd like to support the channel more, make sure to click the join button below to become a member and unlock exclusive perks, as well as help me out and help offset some of the cost of content creation. So with that all out of the way, guys, let's get right into it. Now, obviously, I just want to go over some of the things that I enjoy about the map, start with some positivity here. And, we'll start right off. Obviously, the elephant in the room, it's got a great name. If they wanted to make it iconic or memorable, they did a great job with coming up with Meat, right? Of all of the things they could have called it, it's funny. It lends itself to a lot of puns, a lot of immature jokes. Obviously, there's probably a great one, as the current clickbait title would imply here on this video alone. It just provides a lot of fun and humor, and that's a great part of making a memorable map in Call of Duty. Having a name that kind of sets it apart from other things and really makes it stick in your mind. And in this case, that works. So you can already tell they're trying to be iconic and memorable just by naming it alone, right? As compared to the other maps that we got with this season, Greece. Like, Greece is a great map, and maybe I'll make another video about that, but the name itself it isn't as memorable. It's really bland and boring, but they tried doing something fun, and they called it Meat. So obviously, like I said, the jokes write themselves. Now, the next up is one of the things that caught me on my very few first playthroughs was the middle of the map. Kind of some of the areas are very well designed and themed, right? You have like the slaughterhouse area in the middle. And I just remember thinking again on one of my first times playing the map is like the row of hanging like cow carcasses, if that's what you want to call them, provides like a great kind of dynamic for, basically cover, but at the same time not cover. You can see below it, you can see behind it, someone's on the other side, and you tend to play like Ring Around the Rosie there. So it creates some interesting areas, as well as some good thematic themes that just, kind of set it apart from a typical Call of Duty map. You don't see, hanging hanging cow carcasses on too many other maps. So I thought that was really nice, and that was a cool bit of the map that, isn't just standard industry or war-torn areas like most of Call of Duty maps. Next up, obviously, it is fast-paced. That was its goal. Its goal was to be a tiny map and to be super fast-paced, and it is. There's not a lot of boring or downtime, even on hardcore. I've been playing a lot of hardcore, which can get boring and campy at times, but it's very fast-paced, very fun to play just as a map in general, and that's great to see. Kind of in contrast to Greece, which, once again, was kind of slow. Kind of too big for 6v6. This one arguably is a little too small for 6v6. We'll get to that later, but in general, just a fast-paced map, and I'm glad that they added something like that. To kind of tie in with that, obviously, it is enjoyable to play for the most part. Now, we'll get to some things that make it not enjoyable, but overall, I've had a positive experience when I've played on this map. As you know, they did an entire week of Meat 24/7. Again, you insert joke here, but they did do a Meat playlist. They added it into the Rustment playlist this past week. So, I've played a bunch on this map, and I've enjoyed my time most of the time. And that's saying something, because obviously most of the time I've been playing it, I've been using crap weapons. I'm grinding for Interstellar, which, by the way, I'm very close. I'm only 2 sniper rifles away from beginning the priceless challenges, so that's awesome. Hopefully I get that done shortly. But, regardless, even using terrible weapons, usually not going positive or anywhere near positive because of that, I'm still having a decent time on the map. I'm also glad to see them try to make another iconic map. Now, this seems like the entire map seems like a concerted effort to make another Nuketown or Shipment or Rust or Shoot House, and we haven't seen that in a while. At least I know I didn't play Cold War, but I don't remember too many from Modern Warfare 2 that were like this small. Obviously Farm 18 was a great map, but it wasn't quite this small and grindy. Other than something maybe eluding my memory right now, I don't remember them trying to make another one of these small, grindy, fast-paced, hectic maps since really Shoot House. And Shoot House was a great map, and I think that'll go down in history. And I'm hoping that Meat does as well, because I think it's great to have these fun, very Call of Duty style tiny maps. And to go along with that, obviously, it's unique feeling, right? It gives some character. I will go over later how I wish they would have tweaked the setting a little bit and the visuals and stuff, but overall it still gives a unique feeling just based on the map design itself, which is great. It's one thing to have a really unique setting, on a cruise ship or, something crazy like that, but if the actual map details and the map design itself isn't unique, it doesn't play uniquely, and thus it doesn't stick in your head. And they did a really good job. I think it's built very uniquely while still maintaining that 3-lane structure of Call of Duty maps. And to kind of go along with that and break that down, obviously there's an interesting use of elevation at some points. I know there's a window on the left side where I think maybe is it B flag? I don't quite remember, or but along the left side, like where the tractor trailer is, there's like a window that you can't jump into from the inside, but you can on the outside. And so it adds a layer of verticality there. There's the truck loading bay that goes into that meat packing area that I was talking about with all the hanging cows. That's a cool way to kind of, jump in. You can jump on top of the truck from there. There's just a lot of elevation options that you see that just feel organic. It doesn't feel shoehorned in like the Modern Warfare 2019 remake of Shipment, where you could like just climb all over the place. Like, this feels organic and interesting and kind of jungle Jimmy, while without being too crazy in terms of having people just dropping in from the ceiling seemingly. And then obviously there's also just one more point on that. There is the stack of pallets back near A flag in Domination. And that's another cool thing. It's just a little area of the map. It's just part of the map that's typically used as cover. But if you get on top of that, it's a nice way to kind of oversee all of the area around A Dom. So, just neat little things like that to use elevation without making it 3 stories of windows that you never know where you're going to get shot from. There's also a nice variation of distances. Now, this again ties into the fact that they're trying to make this a camo grinding map or a gun grinding map, right? Because they know that people are going to have to use the marksman rifles, the sniper rifles, etc., or try to get long shots. And there's 2 nice long hallways, both the indoor hallway and kind of the outdoor hallway on their respective sides of the map, that lend themselves really well to things like long shots or marksman rifles. I know I had to set up shop there while I was grinding out my marksman rifles last week, and it made it a lot easier. Obviously, Shipment has other ways to make those weapons viable, but this one you can actually use them for the most part, their intended purpose. And obviously, we don't have to do it nearly as often as we did last year, but if you need long shots for any camo challenges, there's plenty of room to get them on this map, which is awesome. And at the same time, there's still so many places for up close, tight engagements, that frenetic, hectic gameplay, while also, kind of mixing it up and having those long sightlines. So I think it's a great best of both worlds scenario in terms of distances and sightlines and everything like that. And then obviously the biggest thing is it is hectic enough and small enough and fast-paced enough to get a lot of XP. It is a decent grinding map. We'll talk more about maybe why it's not so great in other ways, but at the end of the day, it is great for XP. You get a lot more kills per match than, say, something like, Afghan or, Terminal, something like that. Like, it's definitely more XP. It's definitely much more efficient for those kind of grinding situations. And that's obviously what they were going for, and I'm glad that we have another map like that. So, with all the positive stuff out of the way, this map is not perfect. There is some stuff that we definitely have to discuss that could have been done better, and I wish that it had been done better. Now, the first thing is there's a lot of head glitching opportunities and seemingly uneven positions, especially around the A flag and the C flag in domination. Seemingly the exact same thing, right? They're like these built up, almost like shipping bay areas where, someone that's sitting there has pretty much a nice view of everything in that parking lot, including a lot of spawns. Keep spawns on the tip of your brain. We'll get there soon. And otherwise, it's just a very, very small head glitch. So this kind of seems uneven or unfair, and a lot of those, Call of Duty prides itself on having power positions, but, viable ways to counter them. And it just doesn't feel as counterable, if that's a word, a lot of these power positions, and, pair that with the crappy spawns that we're going to be talking about here in a second. And it can lead to some really unfair situations in the two, like, parking lot areas. Again, A flag and C flag. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. And there is just a lot of places where, like I said, you can kind of get some cheap kills by, just head glitching really, really bad on this map. So I don't know how they go about fixing that, but we'll see in the future if they ever update that in one of the definitely sure to come remastered or reimagined versions in Call of Duties to come. Now, next up, I've alluded to it a couple times during this video, but these spawns are mind-numbingly, excruciatingly terrible. I cannot stress enough how bad the spawns are. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, Crunchy, I mean, it's a small map, right? It's kind of like, a Shipment or a Rust or a Nuketown. Like, the spawns are gonna be bad. No, this is, like, I know what to expect out of maps like this and kind of, the types of bad spawns that to expect. And this just blows out of the water. Some of the most brain dead, like, why on earth would you spawn me here moments I have ever had have come from this map. And keep in mind, this map is not as small as Shipment, right? So in Shipment, you can always use the, kind of excuse that it's literally like a 40 meter by 40 meter box and there's not much else you can do, right? This map is not like that. This map is kind of stretched and made more like a scrunched up version of just a normal multiplayer map. But it's still big enough that spawns shouldn't be as bad as they are. And I mean, they are historically just terrible. And couple that with, as everyone knows, the hardpoint spawns are awful to begin with. And it's just, I could rant about this for another 10 minutes. I'm not going to, but just know these spawns are awful. And I really, really, really hope that they fix it. And that's on top of an already terrible spawn system that they have in Modern Warfare 3. This map just amps that up to 10. And to go along with that, that creates a lot of kind of rough map flow. It's not great. Obviously, we talked about it's an interesting, unique feeling map, and it has a lot of good parts in its design, but I think some of the design elements clash, and as such, it leads to a little bit of a rough map flow, right? It doesn't have the most free-flowing or, predictable map flow of any game. And maybe they did that on purpose so that, again, it's just like a camo grinding map. But I know down the road I'm going to be playing this in a 6v6 playlist, just a normal playlist with all the other maps. And it's going to come up and it's going to suck to try to play when I'm not trying to grind for camos. So I don't know how they fix that. Again, a lot of that comes down to the spawns. I think they fix the spawns that fix about 75% of the flow issue of this map. But either way, even still being a tiny map, there's just some weird conflicting decisions made in its design. And you want a map to be predictable so that you can get good at it. And this map is just the epitome of random. You're probably just going to die no matter what you try. So next up, it is kind of drab and dreary. I mean, for it trying to be the next new fun, memorable, remarkable map, it is just kind of dreary, right? I mean, apart from some cool areas, like I said, like with the, the cow bodies and everything like that, I mean, it is just kind of generic, like, industry setting. I know there's, like, the Breaking Bad Winnebago, and I think there's a couple other Easter eggs that people pointed out. But at the end of the day, it's just not that memorable aside from, like, the name and, like, the sign that says, like, meat, the meat packing sign out front or whatever. But I would like to see them maybe, make some layout, the same layout rather, but spruce it up a bit in future iterations of this map, or maybe change the time of day or the setting to coincide with one of their events. That would be cool. Like they've done before where they turned like bog into a beach map, stuff like that, something like that. I really hope to see with this map. And obviously in future games, I'm sure it's going to be like a space station on the moon or something, and it's going to be meet, 2550 whenever the next Infinite Warfare game comes out. But I think it could benefit from a change of scenery, to say the least. And then obviously it has a lot of the annoying parts of being too small for 6v6, but still not efficient enough for camera grinding. So we'll kind of get to that here in our next big category, but it just seems like it's kind of trying to run a middle ground, and it's not doing it very well. And in an age of gaming where everything has to be the most efficient possible, I think it loses some serious points along that line for trying to ride that middle ground. So that brings us obviously to one of the points we made above. How does it excel in its role as a camo grinding map? Obviously, this was clearly built to be the hectic map, and that's a fun gameplay element in and of itself. But in recent CODs, the smaller, fun-filled maps like that are also tied heavily to leveling up weapons, leveling up your battle pass, and everything like that. Even your normal level to get to the max seasonal level. Everything's tied around efficiency and grinding and stuff like that. And I'm just going to come out and say it is not nearly as good as Shipment. If you asked me if I wanted to play Shipment versus Meat in terms of grinding or trying to get XP for anything, 100 times out of 100, I will pick Shipment. No questions asked. That might be my personal opinion, but it's objectively not as efficient. And I think, like I said before, it's trying to ride that middle ground too much between being a normal COD map and having some of those sight lines and lanes and stuff like that, while also trying to be a small weapon grinding map. And it just loses this identity in the mix of trying to be both things. So I think they would have served themselves well to maybe lean more or less in one direction or the other. But, and that makes it just not as efficient. Now, I will say it is better than Rust. I think Rust is a great 1v1, 2v2, 3v3 type, more competitive, map like that. But as a camo grinding map, I hate Rust. I absolutely hate Rust. I'm just going to put that out there. So I do enjoy this more for that type of gameplay, but just still not as much as Shipment. If I need to level up a weapon, if I need to do camo challenges, just put me on Shipment and just let me have my fun for the week, and I will never complain. Unfortunately, this map just doesn't come close to taking its crown. And to kind of go along with that, I know how I talked above about it does provide you some opportunities to use the different weapon types, and it had weapon types in mind, but it's still just not as great. And obviously certain weapon types dominate here immensely, and Shipment just has a lot better equalizer due to like the hecticness and randomness, and the spawn situation of you might be able to get like a quad feed with the worst weapon in the world just because of spawns and stuff like that. Drop a 100 kill game with the worst weapon in the world. This map not so much, right? Obviously, again, it's shifting close enough to being a normal multiplayer map that it tends to, be difficult to use bad guns or guns that don't fit the size of the map. So obviously, some guns just dominate here, and that kind of hurts its camo grinding, repertoire as well. So, but yeah, with that all out of the way, guys, that's been pretty much my thoughts on it. Just as a conclusion, I just think it's kind of in a weird middle ground, the worst of both worlds. It's not large or flowy enough for normal 6v6 gameplay, in my opinion. That might change over time. And it's not quite small and random, if that's the word you want to use, to be a great, most efficient possible weapon grinding map. Shipment has that beat by a country mile. So unfortunately, it's just in a weird kind of middle ground. I still enjoy it. I'm really happy that they tried to make this, map, and I hope that they iterate it on in the future. I'd love to see it come back. I'd love to see the Meat playlists and all that going forward, and the remakes and stuff like that will come. And I'm happy that they tried again. I think it fell short. At least in my mind, I'd still just much rather play Shipment at the end of the day. But that's about my thoughts on the matter. So let me know down below, what are your thoughts on Meat? Are you enjoying your time with it? Are you enjoying camo grinding on it? Or do you think it'll just settle into a role as just a more hectic version of a 6v6 map that down the road people won't even try to grind weapons or XP on, and they'll just treat it much like they treat Terminal or one of the other more tactical 6v6 maps? What are your thoughts on the map? Let me know down below. And as always, guys, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.